Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, students, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start. I'm going to continue. This is a rainfall mass curve. So you can see that from this curve, the ascent is very high in this region. Okay, that means the rainfall intensity is quite high here, whereas the ascent is mild here. That means the rainfall intensity is low. And you can see that only for certain section, the ascent is very high. Okay, so that is 30 minutes duration. In 30 minutes duration, the amount of rainfall collected is 3.07 centimeter. Whereas for 1 hour duration, the maximum amount of rainfall collected is 5.56 centimeter. For 2 hours, it is 8.2 centimeter. So this duration, uh, this is actually intensity duration curves. Okay, this intensity duration is important because some structures are designed for flash floods, and some structures are designed for larger, bigger thunderstorms, etc. So, for example, the stormwater drains, they are designed for uh, 30 minutes duration. Okay, so the whatever the maximum intensity for the 30 minutes occurs in that location is taken as a design criteria for that. Then now this we have to when we take the when we use the data of a rain gauge station, we have to check whether data is consistent or not. So there are mainly the double mass curve method is used to check the consistency of a rain gauge station. Because what happens many times for hydrological designs, we need 30-year data or 20-year data, okay, depending upon the how big that structure is. So, because these days there is a change in climate or weather pattern change, so due to which the pattern of rainfall is changing. Okay, so we have to correct the this rainfall data record. So this change in the rainfall, or why we need to use this consistency, check the consistencies. Maybe there can be change in instrument location, or maybe there is a error in measurement, and the land use in surrounding area is changed. Okay, because deforestation can change the rainfall pattern, and afforestation also changes rainfall pattern. So we need to have a consistent data set for its use in designing hydraulic structures. So I'll show you this figure. Okay, so this is a double mass curve. Okay, because in double mass curve method, uh, we plot accumulated annual rainfall of a surround mean of surrounding stations versus at a station where we think that the data has inconsistency. So if the data is maintains consistency, then it is a will be a straight line. Okay, but if the slope changes, then that means we need to correct the rainfall data at that rainfall gauge. So we can make the data consistent by adjusting it so that there is no break in resulting double mass curve. And so when we plot this double mass curve, we can see if there is an inconsistency, then we can see a discontinuity in the line. Okay, but that discontinuity that will not indicate which part of the curve should be adjusted. Okay, but generally it is standard that old data, suppose if we have the data from 2000 to let us say 2020 to 1990. Okay, we have 30 years data, and around 2010 there is a discontinuity. So, because we are more interested in the rainfall in the latest time, okay. So therefore, we correct the data of the past. So suppose from data from 1990 to 2020, there is a discontinuity in 2000. Then we'll correct the data from 2000 to 1990. So that's what it is usual practice to adjust the earlier part of the record so that the entire record is consistent with the present. So this double mass curve, it compares average of accumulated values of mean annual precipitation of a group of surrounding stations with, because in a catchment area, suppose we have like 10 uh, rain gauges, okay, and we suspect one rain gauge is inconsistent. Okay, so what we do, we will compare the data record of this the rain gauge which is we think inconsistent. So we compare with that, we compare it with surrounding rain gauges, so that here it will explain better. Suppose there are m plus 1 stations, okay, and there are m good stations and one doubtful station, that is station X. Okay, so the known values, we have the annual precipitations at station X for past 10 years or more, and we have again annual precipitations at surrounding M stations for past 10 years and more. So the cumulative precipitation sigma px of the output station in we have to calculate in reverse chronological order. Then similarly we have to do the cumulative precipitation at surrounding stations in reverse chronological order. Then the sigma px and sigma pav, so they are plotted on a graph. So, suppose the data is inconsistent at station X, then we can see there is a change of slope. Okay, if the change of slope is more than 5 years, then we can say the data is inconsistent at station X, and we need to correct that inconsistent data. So, the PX, that is the actual data. So PCX is corrected data. So PCX is equal to PX into S nu by S old. S nu is the slope of the new slope, and S old is old slope. Okay. You see, we have the data. Suppose we have again, let's say that we have 11 stations. Okay. Uh, but one station data we suspect. So what we do, and we have the data record from 2000 to 1984. Okay. So what we'll do, we will take average of these annual rainfall at 10 stations, and then we sum it in reverse chronological order, and similarly we will accumulate that annual rainfall at station X in a reverse chronological order. So when we plot, we'll get this curve, and this curve changes its slope at 1993. Okay, so that earlier, suppose the rainfall trend is changed at station X. Therefore, there is a change in slope, and we need to correct this. Okay, we need to correct this past rainfall data corresponding to this new rainfall data. So how we do it? We know this actual rainfall data. So its slope is S old, but whereas the new rainfall data, so which has got a slope of S new. So we can these are actual data. We multiply with S new by S old, then we can shift this line to here. So we look at we'll do one example, then you understand better. So the annual rainfall data being reported from the station X for 22 years since 1969. So in order to check the consistency of this data, 6 neighboring stations have been chosen, and the annual rainfall values of these stations have been averaged for all the years since 1969. So these values are given in table. Okay, so this is a table. Okay, this is the station X annual rainfall, annual average rainfall. No, sorry, annual rainfall from 1990 to 1969. Okay, then the average of annual rainfalls at 6 surrounding stations given here, that is 161, 146, etc. Then we have to accumulate these rainfalls in reverse chronological orders at surrounding stations and as well as station X. So cumulative average of annual rainfall at 6 stations. So that 161, then 161 plus 146, that will be 307 plus 130, 437. So like that, we are adding in reverse chronological order. Then similarly, we have to get cumulative rainfall at station X. Okay, so here for station X in 1990 163. Since 1989, the cumulative rainfall is 293. Similarly, the cumulative rainfall since 1988, so that is given as 430. So now we have to plot these two data sets. Okay. So on y-axis, because y-axis is mainly for unknown variable, whereas x-axis is for known variable. So the cumulative rainfall of surrounding stations is plotted on x-axis, whereas the data to be corrected at station X is plotted on y-axis. So we can see that there is a distinct change in slope at year 1977. Okay. So we are plotting from 1999. So this is 1999, 98, 97, like that. If you go, this is 1977, and we can find the slopes of this uh, line after discontinuity and the line before discontinuity. So that is given here. So the new slope that is given as 0.953, whereas the old slope is given as 1.18. So the correct ratio, that is equal new slope by old slope, that is 0.810. So so uh, from 97 previous the area to 97, there is an inconsistency of data. So this is the actual data, and we need to correct them. And how we correct them? By multiplying with 0.81. Okay, so by multiplying with 0.81, we'll get the corrected rainfall values. So in a given catchment area, it has got many rainfall stations, rain gauge stations. Okay, But sometimes one of the rain gauge, it may be faulty or maybe inaccessible. Okay, so therefore we do not have the rainfall at that station. Okay, we need to calculate that missing data. Okay, how we can do this one? Same similar, because in a catchment area there are many rain gauge stations, among which one is uh, faulty, or we don't have, there is a missing data. So we can use that surrounding rain gauge data to estimate missing data. So to calculate this missing data, the important definition is normal or average rainfall. Okay, so the normal or average rainfall is defined as expected amount of rainfall per year in a given area. Okay, so it is obtained by averaging the precipitation recorded in a year during at least 30 years. So if any station, if we have past 30 years data, when we average that, we will get the normal rainfall at the station. That means next year we can expect that average rainfall. So there are three important methods to estimate missing data. The first method is, it is a simple average method. Okay, suppose there are n plus one stations. Okay, and at station X there is a missing rainfall in a given year. Then what we can do, we can take average of that m rain gauge stations. Okay, that is 1 by m of P1 plus P2 up to Pn. Okay, that gives rainfall at station X. And this simple average method, it is very simple. I mean, very easy, but it has got a drawback. Okay, so when you're the rain gauge stations under consideration, they do not have uh, they do not have variation more than 10%. Okay, so suppose there are, let us say, like five stations surrounding one station. So the rainfall at all the six stations, it should vary. Suppose at one station it is 100 centimeters in a year, and all other stations it should be between 90 to 110. Okay, not more than that. If it is more than, if the variation is very high, then we cannot use this simple average. So next method is a normal ratio method. So in normal ratio method, so we will use okay, again there is a internet outage. Now it connected back. Okay, so in the normal ratio method, what we do, so we have in a given year, we have rainfalls at the K stations. They are given as P1 P2 up to Pk. But from past 30 years data, the normal average annual rainfall at each station is given as N1 N2 up to Nk. We need to find the missing data at the Px station in a given year. But at Px station, the 30 years average annual rainfall is given as Nx. Okay, so then we can calculate Px by Nx is equal to 1 by k of k is number of rain gauges. Okay, so Px by Nx is equal to 1 by k of P1 by N1 plus P2 by N2, so on and so forth up to Pk by Nk. So this normal ratio method, it is more accurate than a simple average method. So there is another method which is called inverse distance method. Okay, so where we will use weighting factors. Okay, so when we are measuring the missing data at a given station, we will give more weightage to nearby rain gauges, and we'll give less weightage to faraway rain gauges. Okay, so the weighting factor, that is 1 by dA square. dA is the distance between the rain gauge where data is missing to the rain gauge station which is considered. So here if you see that uh, there are 5 stations. At the central station, there is a data is missing in a given year. So we will use uh, we will sum the weighting factor into rainfall of surrounding areas, okay, divided by sum of weighting factors. So that will use the missing rainfall in a given year at station X. So Px is equal sigma of I is equal 1 to n pi wi divided by sigma I is equal 1 to n wi, where wi is nothing but 1 by distance square. So this method is also, it is not very accurate method, because we are not considering the normal average rainfall. We are just considering the distances only. So in hilly regions where the rainfall variation, the spatial variation of rainfall is quite high, we cannot use this method. So we'll do one numerical example. Okay, there are 6 stations. Okay, and the rainfalls and as well as annual normal rainfalls, normal average annual rainfalls are given at all the stations. Okay, and because data is missing at station A, so and the station A distance between station A and other stations is given here. Okay, so station B is 1.5 kilometer from station A, station C is 1.21 kilometer from station A, so on and so forth. Similarly, the rainfall in a given time is given for rain gauges B2F as 2.5, 3.4, 1.5, 2.2, 1.8. Similarly, the normal rainfalls at these stations are given as 102, 114, etc. So now, uh, so this is the normal ratio method. Okay, from using simple average method, just we will add these rainfalls from B to F, that is 2.5, 3.4, 1.5, 2.2, 1.8, and average of these values gives rainfall at uh, gauge A by simple average method. Okay, but simple average method is not accurate, because if you see, the simple average method is suitable only for the variation is less than 10%. If you see the rainfall, normal rainfalls, you see uh, at station D it is 95, whereas at station C it is 122. So the variation is more than 20%. So therefore we cannot do simple average method. So let us use normal ratio method. So in normal ratio method, uh, at station A P is missing, but other stations rainfall is given. Then normal rainfall is given in this column. Okay, 102, 144, etc. So we have to calculate P by N. Okay, that is precipitation in a given year divided by normal average rainfall. So P by N is calculated in this column. Okay, and this is the average of P by N's at surrounding stations, that is 0.0207. Okay, so P missing divided by 102 is equal average of all these P by N's. Okay, so Px is equal 102 into 0.027, so that is given as 2.11 centimeter. So this is normal ratio method. And next method is inverse distance method. You see that uh, so distance is given as 1.5 kilometer distances of this rain gas station, surrounding rain gas stations from base station are given in this column. Okay, so 1 by square of this given here 0.444, 0.683, 1.384, etc. So we have to multiply with present rainfall, present precipitation uh, into this weight. So this gives 1.11 for station B and 2.32 for station C. So summation of all this given given as 7.216. Okay, so 7.216 divided by summation of weighting factors that given as 2.17. But here the disadvantage is in inverse distance method uh, we have not used the normal rainfalls. Okay, because normal rainfalls they are average of a every rainfall for a quite long period of time. Generally, it is 30 years. Okay, so we have not considered normal rainfalls. We have considered only the distances and rainfall uh, in the given year. So among the three methods, the normal ratio method is more accurate one. So design of rain gauge stations. Okay. So what is design of rain gauge stations? That is deciding how many rain gauge stations to be set up in a given catchment area. So rain gauge stations should be evenly and uniformly distributed. Okay, and there should not be too many rain gauge stations or too less. Okay, if you use too many rain gauge stations, then the cost will go up. If you use too less, then the results are unreliable. And aerial density varies from region to region and even country to country. Because in developed countries, they can have higher density of rain gauge stations, whereas poor countries in Africa, they have, there the aerial density is low. And not only that, not only based on the development, the rain gauge stations, they also uh, function of uh, the whether it is hilly region or a plain region. So in hilly region, in mountainous region, rainfall is quite high, and the variation, spatial variation is also quite high. So we need more rainfalls. And suppose a country which has in full mountains. Okay, for example, like some country in Europe. Uh, it is mainly in mountainous region like Austria, even Germany, France. They are in Alps mountains. Okay, so they need higher density of railway stations. And the railway stations they also depend on basic purpose behind their installation. Okay, uh, see that the density of rain gauge network that depends upon topography, whether it's hilly region or plain region. Then financial constraints. Suppose if that county or that state or that district is quite rich, then they can have more number of rain gauge stations. Then level of development. So in developed areas, again the number of rain gauges are quite will be quite high. Then climate. Okay. Uh, in some regions where the rainfall is quite high, like along the equator, like Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, and even some areas in Africa, where the Amazon forest in Brazil, where the rainfall is quite high. So we need to have a higher density of rain gauge stations. And among the rain gauge stations, 10% of rain gas stations should be recording that. So this is World Meteorological Organization. They they give guidelines. Okay, for flat and temperate regions, rain gas station should be every 600 to 900 square kilometers. Then for mountainous regions, so one rain gas station for every 150 square kilometers. And for small islands, so rain gas station for every 25 per square kilometers. So there are, I mean, okay. So for flat temperate regions, there should be one railway station for every 600 square kilometers. For mountainous regions, at least one railway station for every 150 square kilometers. For small mountainous islands, uh, one railway station for every 25 square kilometers. And for polar regions, the sparse railway stations is good enough. So one railway station is enough for 1,500 to 10,000 square kilometers. And from Bureau of Indian Standards, it specifies there should be at least one railway station for 520 square kilometers in plains. There should be at least one railway station for every 260 to 390 square kilometers for regions above 1000 meter altitude, and there should be at least one railway station for every 130 square kilometers in hilly areas with heavy rainfall, like Western Ghats. We need to have a railway station at every 130 square kilometers. Adequacy of railway stations. Okay, so there is a methodology to find whether the number of how many number of railway stations should be provided in a given catchment. Okay, so the optimal number of railway stations n is equal CV by epsilon square, whereas CV is coefficient of variation. So that is equal 100 times standard deviation divided by average rainfall, whereas epsilon is a uh, maximum error to be permitted, okay, in the estimation of average rainfall. So you know how to calculate standard deviation of precipitation. So that is given as square root of I to summation of I to 1 to n dn minus p bar square divided by n minus 1, and mean precipitation is computed as 1 by n summation of precipitations from I equal 1 to n. Uh, So in any catchment, we need to find area average rainfall. So there are three methods available to calculate average rainfall. So the simplest method is arithmetic mean method. So in arithmetic mean method, so this is the catchment area. There are four rain gauges in this catchment area, and there is a rain gauge station outside catchment area. So from arithmetic mean method, to calculate area average rainfall in this catchment, we have to take average of this P2, P3, P4, P5. We need not to consider this P2 prime since it is outside the uh, catchment area. So this is the simplest method. Second method is Thyssen polygon method. Okay, so according to this Thyssen polygon method, so at any point in watershed, the rainfall is same as that at the nearest gauge, so that the depth recorded at a given gauge is applied out to distance halfway to the next station in any direction. So what this Pearson polygon method says that, suppose like P3, suppose we consider the rain gauge stations P3 and P4. Okay, so there is a midpoint. This is the midpoint between P3 and P4. So the halfway, I mean the distance from P3 P4, from halfway, that is this point up to P3, the rainfall is considered as P3. Similarly, between stations P2 and P3, from this midpoint towards this side, the rainfall at any point is taken as P2, but from this bisecting line, rainfall at any point along this line is taken as P3. Okay, so what it says that in between like two railway stations, uh, so at any location the rainfall is same as the nearest gauge. Okay, and we have to connect. I mean, so we have to divide this catchment area into different segments or different zones, and each zone we have to draw boundary lines. They are nothing but bisecting lines of connecting lines between these gas stations. So this is the steps of Thyssen polygon method. Okay, first we have to plot the stations on a drawing sheet or a graph sheet. Then we have to join each station with adjoining stations using dashed lines. Okay, these are the dashed lines. Then we have to draw perpendicular bisectors. Okay, along these dashed lines. Okay, then uh, we have to enclose rain gauge stations using these bisectors. Okay, then any rain gauge station surrounded by these bisecting lines, that area the rainfall is same as the station surrounded by this bisecting lines. So once we measure the areas of these uh, zones, then the P bar is taken as sigma of AJ PJ divided by the total area. So this is nothing but a weighting factor. This AJ by A is a weighting factor. Okay. So the weighting factor increases with the area of that zone. So third method is isoheightal method. So in isoheightal method, we'll draw isoheight. Isoheight is nothing but a contour line of constant rainfall. Okay. So along this line, there is a constant rainfall, and this another isoheight. So along this line, the rainfall is like 10 centimeter per hour, and along this isoheight, the rainfall is 20 centimeter per hour. Just using interpolation, we can draw this isoheights. Then we know the catchment area between these isoheights. So we multiply the area between isoheights into the average value of two isoheights. Okay. Suppose this is the area. Okay, I'll stop it in 1 minute. Okay. So suppose in between these two contour lines, the area is this. So we can take average rainfall by averaging the isoheight values of these two contours. Then we multiply with the area between them. That gives the average rainfall in that area. Similarly, we can calculate rainfalls uh, in between each interval. Then we add all of them together, then divided by total area. That gives the average rainfall using this isoheightal method. So this method is more accurate compared to other two methods, because here the disadvantage of simple average method is that we don't consider the rain gauge stations outside the catchment area, whereas in Thyssen polygon method, so this is not suitable for orographic rainfall. Okay, but this isoheightal method, So here we are considering the rain gauge stations outside the catchment area to draw these contours, and as well as because in orographic rainfall the spatial variation will be high, so we will draw contour network, contour network, so that will solve the variability problem. So isovital method is suitable for orographic precipitation. So I'll stop it here. In the next class, we'll do some numericals uh, using this three area average methods, and as well as adequacy of rain gas stations. Okay. So with the, I'll teach this on Monday.